Moraine arrives back up with them in chapter 6 when they're still in Shinar.
In
So
China.
that's in chapter 6 of The Great Hunt. Yeah, in
Chapter
Shinar.
6? Oh, in
She's
Shinar.
the
Oh,
one.
yes.
Yeah,
She also
Moraine
disappears after Shinar.
arrives in Shinar and stops. He's about to reach for Sidon. Moraine arrives and Leandrin stops her compulsion.
Okay. So this is before they
She
actually
doesn't go with them,
leave.
you're saying?
Well, this is before they leave for the hunt, because when they go for the hunt,
Okay.
she goes on her solo mission, and we don't really hear about much from her. And Baron is
Because
instead
she's been
like
on a
the
solo.
Aes Sedai monitor.
Because she was on her solo mission before then as well.
Well, if I can
Because she was
remember, at
with
the very beginning,
Adalas and Van
um,
Dien. Yeah.
yeah,
She's in
but
the
she
little
doesn't. She's not
she's
with
in
the
the hut
group
with the
though.
two
For
brown sisters.
a lot of the books, she's not with the group.
Hmm.
So I'm thinking they're trying to spice up her storyline, which is why they added all this extra crap,
Yeah.
whether it be good or bad. Same thing with Lan as well, because Lan is like a POV character now, and
Because he's with her, isn't he,
it
normally so if she disappears, I guess Lan does too.
right. So yeah,
Because
it's a
in
bit
the Great
odd.
Hunt, Lan's with her throughout.
Right.
It is. Anyway, we better get going because we're already
Yep.
significant
So
time in.
we're on the go. We're live. We're gonna go ahead and talk
All right.
about episodes 3 to 5. Here with me today is Tristram. Andrew will be joining us in a few moments. He's getting his internet sorted out. Uh, so we're going to go ahead and talk about these episodes by story arc. I wanted to see if you wanted to start with Nynaeve's arc. I thought this third episode, at least, was a very strong start to her arc in this episode. Very important for her overall
Yeah.
story. How did you think they did as far as treating the accepted test? How do you think the show pulled this off?
The rings.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's a good question. I've got to say that in some ways I'm delighted. Like one of the things I was saying is they better not make it some little backstory thing. It's a massive deal. It needs to be a big deal, and they did make it a big deal, which I'm delighted for. That they made it the proper core of the third episode, and they keep the major beats. Um, and I'm not bothered about tiny little things like the fact they use an urn instead of a chalice, and the fact that they don't really look silvery and they look stone, and the fact that they send her in a shift instead of naked. Like all of that's fine. That's just TV stuff. No, like that makes complete sense, right? You want to show this show before the watershed. I get it, and like I completely agree with those kind of adaptation tweaks. Um, it's a little bit sad that they couldn't keep more of the core of what she actually envisages, but I think they did a good enough job. Like the first one, they take her back and have her have to abandon her family who are all being killed. Whereas in the thing that's a bit sad is that like they'd already got rid of Agenor, right? The Forsaken that she faces at the Eye of the World. So they couldn't have her
Right.
being pursued by him. So I get that. But one of the things is in the original, she lashes out with the power to try and kill him. And she
Right.
is about to kill him. And she has the ability to destroy him. And it's turning away when you could kill your own enemy. And they don't
Hmm.
do that for her. Like she turns to fight, but clearly she's in no position to fight. If you actually look at the vision that they have, she's not going to win. It's
Right.
just like, do you want to die with your family? And so like it's a shame they couldn't have given us something where like it put her in a position of the first, because I feel like one of the things it didn't cover is that one of Nynaeve's problems is her rage and her desire to like kill that which is evil, and to say no. Actually, sometimes as an Aes Sedai, you have to not destroy even something that is evil. You have to put that off for the greater good, and I think we miss that. But it's a very minor thing. there's nothing wrong with the theme of in her past, her family dying and her having to abandon them. Really good. The second one, they kept it pretty close. I don't know why they just didn't do what's in the book, considering they went really close anyway. Going back to Two Rivers, people sick, people not being looked after. But again, they just, for some reason, they did you left us and people got ill. And she has to leave town, which is good, especially after saying that she would stay with him. That was nice. Nice use of the same actor. But for some reason, they made and again, I guess why they couldn't use some stranger coming in. But one of the cool things about in the books is a new wisdom's arrived, and she is ruling the town with an iron fist. She's taken over the women's circle, and she's basically doing Nynaeve's job badly. And Nynaeve sits there and plans with the women's circle how to overthrow her and how to return Edmund's Field to the way it should be. And then the way comes, and she abandons them instead of helping them overthrow the bad version of her. And so that, again, I just think that would have been even better. But they seem to feel like, well, we can't do that because then we'd just be repeating the book. We've got to try and do something different. And I think it just didn't hit as hard, mainly because...
It might have been time constraint, maybe, because I think trying to tell that story would take far more time than the one they did in the second part of her test.
Fair point. And in a TV show, you really have to do that. But they have Natty Kothon being the wisdom. So how hard would it be to say she's the wisdom, ruling with an iron fist, being a bit bad, and a 10-second conversation that she has with Egwene's mum, who they have already introduced as a character, and say, we'll sort this out. And then just as they do, the Archbeers. I don't know. But
I think it would have been
again,
hard
my problem isn't really that they changed it.
To play catch up, because in the first series, it didn't really get into the town dynamics with the men's circle versus the women's circle. I think if they did spotted that, maybe. What was that?
Well, the women's circle was done. The town council were ignored, but the women's circle was done. They had a whole ritual event about it.
Right.
But yeah, not the full dynamic in the books.
I get it.
But again, one of the things I regret is not really that they changed it. The thing I regret is I think it doesn't show the same lesson. So in the first one, it's that I'm powerful and can kill people, but sometimes I shouldn't. In the second one, it's I look after everybody, and I feel a responsibility for the Emond's Field group, especially the Emond's Field 5 that came with her. And sometimes you have to abandon your home, your old home, for your new one. I don't think it hit the same punch. But yeah, it's still fine. It's still good they put it in. The third one is almost more perfect. It's more what it's supposed to be, because it shows her with Lan, shows her having Druin. But again, they changed it also.
Yeah, they changed it to be an extremely traumatic experience.
Yeah.
And she was in that. I guess she almost lived the whole lifetime, almost.
That's what they suggest.
7 years, yeah. Which would be extremely hard psychologically to deal with. I almost think they went a little bit too far, because I couldn't imagine Nynaeve being able to recover that from that experience unless she really just dug into the fact that it wasn't a real experience. But damn, that is hardcore.
It is, and I think they didn't really need to do the thing where she comes and sees Lan and then believes that she lives all those years, because they could have, and this would have saved time, done what's in the books, which is actually quicker than in the TV show, which is she appears and they're already of an age, and they already have the kid, and so she can still have that. But one of the things that I found a bit of shame about that is they turned it into a combat scenario, whereas it didn't need to be. It could have been quite nice that it wasn't a combat scenario. And that's why, because one of the things she realizes in the book version is that she stopped fighting. She doesn't go off to war anymore. She doesn't help. And they touched on that in the show, and it would have been interesting. Yeah, no, this isn't right. I do fight and do it that way. But even though I've just complained, I think they made it a big deal. They showed that it was relevant. They hit on key points of Nynaeve's character. They had it be traumatic. That bit, Nynaeve's bit itself, great. Why they won't allow Swan to be present, I don't know. I don't know why they have to do that. Why they had the sisters leave, I don't know. I don't feel that was valuable at all. And this whole Egwene and Elaine coming down, and as if they'd even be allowed anywhere near the archers, as if they'd throw like the power at it. It just shows again that they've misunderstood how novices are treated and what novices can and cannot do. The very idea that they would have done that is just absolutely totally out of character. It's out of line for the novices, and it's just not in line with the lore. And so the only thing is, at least they didn't have Egwene freaking rescue her, because then I would have had to like break something. If Egwene had like broken into the dream world via the rings and like rescued her, I'd just like, please, just stop now. But so that bit just wound me up, because they could, again, because it's unnecessary. She could have come out, seen the sisters, and done her line, "I hate all Aes Sedai," had the sisters deal with it, which they deal with it very well. They said like everyone feels that way when they come out of the rings. Then she could have gone back to her rooms and had the hugging scene with Egwene. You know, she's been strong in front of the sisters. You can't break me, and then gone back and collapsed. And so I found that a poor choice. But the actual sequence, pretty good. What do you think about the rings?
I agree with all your criticisms. And like it's like they're nerfing all the strict Aes Sedai rules, and they're nerfing the hard magic system and almost making it a soft magic system.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. Like,
Agreed.
I thought the spirit was fine. They did
Yes, agreed.
hit kind of like the major spirit of the accepted test. I know they
did.
made a bunch of tweaks to it.
Which is-
I thought the twist was interesting. It actually caused me a little bit of anxiety when I watched the show. I was like, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah, if she'd walked out the tower, that would have been it. I might have stopped watching the show.
Yeah, so I was like, okay. I think one of the good things about the show is that, yeah, there's stuff they throw in there that's totally out of left field and unexpected. And it's mostly like anxiety about how they're doing something in the show, or what are they doing with a certain character. And the weird thing is, it's almost like, okay, I'm getting like a feeling that I wouldn't get otherwise because I already know what's going to happen. And I kind of respect that a little bit.
That's one of the advantages in adaptation.
Right. So, you know, these little anxiety-causing moments, I was like, holy crap.
No, I agree.
I agree. This ring? How is she going to do it? But yeah, that twist, I was like, holy crap.
And I agree that on the whole,
I think there might be a delay between.
but we should just explain that by the twist.
Yeah.
Okay. We should also explain that what he means by the twist is that when she comes out, she believes she's out and she's not out, and so she says that she's leaving the tower, and they accept it, and she's actually still in.
Right. Yeah, the like dream, kind of dream within a dream thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Dusty, are you back with us?
Yeah, I'm here. It's just there's a little bit of a delay on my end.
Okay. So, but yes, I still would say that Nynaeve's thing is one of the better arcs in these 3 episodes, possibly the best arc of the 3 episodes. Which
I would say I'd probably agree with you, yeah.
But that's not because it's got high competition. So
right, because a couple of the things we probably need to talk about the dynamic between Egwene, Elaine, and Nynaeve, because we do know this arc ends in them arriving at Tomon Head, so we can talk about a little bit about that.
Okay, cool.
And you're like I was saying before we started the podcast, Tristram, your predictions about them still ending up at Falme were correct. But like the whole fucking season for so many of the characters was just like meandering, wasting crap. So they could avoid doing it the same way they did it in the books.
Anyway, but yeah. No, you're right. You're so right. So let's talk about the girl dynamic. So I don't like how they've decided to make like what is expected of novices, like how dare they reduce you to menial chores, blah blah blah. Even though, of course, they did. It's based on being a nun, and the whole point was it's meant to be like you're going to wield awesome, light, world-changing powers. We need to show you that a respect for manual labor and to keep you humble so that you don't go crazy when you're an Aes Sedai. And it's just they for some reason are just like missing out on the value of that. It's like it's only a punishment, not actually that every single sister has gone through this and it's helped all of them forge who they are. So I find that whole thing a little bit annoying. But
Yeah.
on the dynamic, I don't like the fact that Egwene's I think most of Egwene they've got right, but I think it's a bit weird that she's like they've had little elements of her being like, I won't do it the easy way. I'm only going to do it the super hard way because I want to push myself to the utter limit. I think that's a bit pushing it. I think Nynaeve's pretty much spot on. Don't like the Aes Sedai. I wish they had more of the I'm going to become an Aes Sedai so I can beat them from within. I wish they had a bit more of that.
Yeah, that thing. And the whole like I'm too powerful, I'm reluctant to use my powers.
Yeah, and whereas actually she's just like, I wish I could freaking use my powers.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm desperate to break this block. But on the positive side, I really like the actress they've chosen for Elaine. I think that she does a very good job of like not being super arrogant, but coming across as someone a bit privileged. And I think they've balanced it pretty okay with the kind of pushback she's got from Nynaeve and Egwene, but she's pushed back and held her own. And so I've up to now, I'm cautiously optimistic about their interplay as characters. I think they've got a pretty good taste for the Nynaeve, Egwene, Elaine, Power Girl triangle.
I don't like the actress they chose for Elaine because the rest of them I know they aged up all of the rest of the characters in the show in comparison to the books, but I mean to me it doesn't look like they did that with Elaine. She looks like she's 14 or so to me.
Okay, I certainly don't think she looks 14, but she does look young. She looks young. It would be interesting to know what the difference is in the age of the actresses.
Yeah, I mean she could easily be a lot older than she looks.
Well, I bet they're older, and if they are older, then like fair play to you. I can't tell. I can't tell. They all look like about 20 to me.
Okay.
But yeah. I just think the dynamic is pretty good. What do you think, Dusty? What do you think about the girls' dynamic?
I thought they did it pretty well. They did a good job at doing it quickly because they basically have no time to portray this. As we have, because in the tower, it's a little bit more than just the three girls. There's also men. There's also the teen angst. Well, at least they got rid of the teen angst. For me, the teen angst was like the triangles and them, fawning over Elaine's brothers. They kind of got rid of that. I do
like that. Yeah.
It also becomes a disappointment because that's a possibility. One of my favorite scenes in The Wheel of Time may not be portrayed on screen.
He's not going to be there.
Matt Gawain and Galad.
Yeah,
but I think they will have that scene, but they won't be able to use Galad and Gawain. I think Gawain's not going to be a character at all. I think they're going to combine Galad and Gawain and have a character rock up later. That's her older brother, and I think he's going to play more the Galad role. I think Gawain's going to be pretty much non-existent in this series, and they're going to have Egwene have different love interests. I think what they're going to have is have Matt do that scene, but with some other arrogant prats. And so he's going to be able to go, like, someone's going to underestimate Matt and he's going to take him out with a quarterstaff. It has to happen. They know the fans are begging for it. And also, it's a scene that will look great on TV. So they're going to want to do it. And they've, up to now, almost never shown Matt fighting at all. So when he does, they're going to want to show that. anyway, just going back to the arc. One of the things I think we need to include in the arc with the girls is Leandrin, because Leandrin is very involved.
Yeah.
I love
So-
Leandrin in this show. She's such a great
Yep.
actress.
She's very
I
good.
like her. I like her acting, but I don't like where they went with the plot. I really liked her a lot at first, but I don't like what they've done with her in the later episodes.
I think that they've like they out her in these episodes as a dark friend. Okay. And they do it by having her break the oaths, so we can see that she's lied and we can see that she's used the power, just like as a weapon. And then I'm like, do they realize the rules have been broken? And then you have her like admit it, and so they go, okay, yeah, they are doing it on purpose. It was meant to be a clue. But only one of the things I dislike is that they have, and it goes back to the fact that they've not used the hard magic system. They've not gone side in, side R. They're going, oh, it's the one power, just men and women use it differently.
Yeah.
And so then she's gone to Nynaeve. There's another way to use the power. You don't need to surrender to side R. You can basically wrest it to your will, which is how you treat Sidene.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's weird. I'll
you
say
can't
that
actually
they
do
kind
that.
of don't know what to do because we see that Rand, it seems like,
Yeah, but that's in the later episodes.
is only teachable through a male. So it almost seems
Yeah,
like
Logain,
there has
the way
to be some
Logain
component
teaches
there.
him is the way that male channelers do it, right?
Yeah, well, it's going to in several future episodes, but yes. And so the problem is they're doing both. That's what I mean. They can't just choose what they're doing. They keep switching what they believe.
Right.
And they're doing it by not really defining what they believe.
Yeah,
which
and
sucks.
I just realized based on what you were saying there, that makes it seem inconsistent.
Yeah, incredibly inconsistent. And it's the same with the Waters Bond. It's the same with Sidene Sedar. And it's the same with the freaking thing about the dragon for egalitarian rights.
Yeah.
Because, I understand why they did it. Let's have it be out of 5 instead of out of 3. But now it's messing up things because you have things in later episodes where like, oh, I just wish the dragon had been a woman. It would have been so simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Then why did you have this White Tower plan to imprison the dragon? If it had been a woman, you wouldn't have needed to, would you? Huh?
That's true.
So how
yeah.
come you had this? Because it's obviously because you're stuck with this chunk of the law that you want, and you're now it's inconsistent. Anyway, so Leandrin's thing of like you can treat it like Sidene if you're like the dark side is just stupid and should be stopped. But but the fact that she's part of the manipulation, the part of the fact that they get them out, a little bit of compulsion potentially used, all that is good. And the fact that they had to take Elaine along, I guess, to keep it sensible because you've got the actress. What are you going to do there? Just leave her in the tower once you've introduced her? Doesn't make sense. But it does cause some problems when they're out farm.
I feel like that's the same reason they did all this unnecessary shit with Moiraine.
Yeah.
So the actor wouldn't go away for like 3 seasons.
But the other thing is when they arrive in farm, and they do the betrayal, which happens in these 3. I don't know why they didn't just because one of the things that happens in the books is when they arrive, they try and leash them, and Nynaeve gets so angry she can use the freaking power, and she literally lashes out with lightning. Now that would look cool on screen.
Yeah.
That would have completely gone with Nynaeve from episode 4 in book 1 in series 1. It's also consistent with the books. And so she lashes out. It surprises them that this Marath Damane is so powerful. And she uses that attack to get them away. Instead, they have Leandrin, play the edges. So Leandrin is like, I'm a good dark friend. Here are your pawns. And then she does this little, I'm just going to untie you.
Yeah, I felt like Leandrin was
they want
encountering
Leandrin to be
a
gray.
Karen. Leandrin was encountering this Karen figure, and then she's like, no, I'm not going to let her have the last word. Let's see how she handles this. And she kind of unleashes them.
Yeah,
I was okay with that. I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, I think they want to portray Leandrin as gray. They want Leandrin
Yeah,
to
and
be a
then
gray dark friend, not a
And
dark.
they're,
and
they're,
then
they're doing that with
also
they're
the
doing that with
portrayal
like
of
so
dark
many
friends.
characters though. They're doing like everyone is gray, everyone is actually working, everyone's actually a dark friend, everyone's actually working with the Forsaken. Like,
Well,
yeah.
Andros is definitely a dark friend, but they're also portraying like the uneasy alliances between dark friends as well.
And
Like they're
I'm
not.
fine with that. I'm fine with that. That is
Mhm.
good. That is consistent. And so just the Leandrin character is meant to be more likable than Leandrin really is in the books, which is fine. That because I think that's actually been quite consistent. Sister Strongjaw has been bad, but kind of at least thinks she's good the whole way through. And I think the actress is nailing it. She is definitely like being the entire Red Aja on her own, though, like for sure.
Right.
Like that it isn't just Leandrin's character. They're like packing in so many things. I just hope she isn't a Leda. But I don't think she's gonna be. I don't think she's gonna be. I've heard that they've recruited an Aleda, so that's
That would
good.
be good.
Yeah. So what do you think? Yeah. So that's all my comments on the girls.
right, so
my
to
my
jump
only other
into
thing,
the shit
the
sandwich. Oh, go
positive
ahead,
thing I
Andrew.
would say is that, you know, like I was telling you guys before, my favorite part of the whole season is everything that happens with Egwene and the Shan Chen. That's
So the
also
Sultan.
yeah.
Well, that's next podcast.
Yeah. After these episodes, yeah.
But at least they had Egwene taken, right?
Yeah.
Like they didn't skip that bit out, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you want to move on to next, man?
Can we do the Lan Moraine?
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So
we're doing the opposite of the shit sandwich.
Andrew. So Andrew, do you enjoy Lan and Moraine's interactions in this series?
No, they're the worst parts of the whole season. Like it's so stupid. They broke canon and broke the story and invented this whole shit like to circumnavigate them breaking canon and made this thing where Ishamael somehow supposedly quote unquote permanently shielded Moraine's powers, and then he tied the knot in such a way that it makes it breakable instead of unbreakable, and then I'm spoiling later episodes, but the point is that they did all this shit just to avoid doing stuff that they were doing in the books, and then they had all this dumb emotional drama between Lan and Moraine throughout the entire season, which was just so boring and stupid. Like,
yeah,
I don't understand why they were doing this.
I'm absolutely certain someone said Moraine has no conflict, so we need to give her some. And you're like, hang on a minute. Moraine is like desperately trying to keep the Dragon Reborn alive. They keep seeming to forget that Rand's the main character, and it's okay if Moraine is in support of Rand. It's like, no.
Like they could easily have just gone with her, like being harsh with him, but then when she's alone, just like getting emotional and just having trouble dealing with all of this shit, because it's a lot to deal with. You don't need to like have all this dumb emotional drama.
Yeah, especially because Moraine's meant to be above this, and not only Moraine, but Lan is meant to be so far beyond this. Like, in the books, Lan is described as making mountains look soft, as making stone itself seem emotional. That's how Lan is described. And this is why I had a problem when in episode 5 last season, and they have the water die, they have Lan burst into tears and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, Lan can be emotionally powerful without crying. Like, but they're just like, sorry, it's 2023, guys. We need to make sure that everyone knows men are allowed to cry. Like, we know, we got the memo. But like, it's also okay for
like
someone.
you don't have to have a problem with men crying to not want characters to be way more emotional than they're supposed to be.
Yeah, and other characters do that, right? Like you've got Perrin and Rand and Matt living in this world, but like Lan is the definition of stoic, and this drama with Moraine just reduces him in a way that they shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
It makes him seem trivial, and it makes Moraine seem trivial. Like
Yep.
Moraine would no way just treat her warlords. But also this idea that like Lan's like, oh, we're not equals. Like Lan would never consider himself Moraine's equal. Never.
Yeah.
Like he's her warder. The relationship's entirely different. But all of that kind of stuff has just been rubbish. The characters are completely off base. It's based on a problem that they invented, and then they've just so they don't know how to react because they don't know how the characters would react to that situation because it didn't really happen, and so they don't know what to do with it, and so they just mucked it up from front to back. It damages everything about the characters, and they're meant to be doing everything together, and now they're not. So it also busts up Lan's mentorship of Rand, teaching him how to act, teaching him how to fight. It botches up Moraine's mentorship of Rand.
All they have for that mentorship between Lan and Rand is that one moment right
In, like,
before Rand
several
goes and
episodes
sees
down.
Swan. Yeah.
But
That's
that
one
should have
moment.
been happening, like, because remember that happens in the books, like right at the beginning of the Great Hunt, and like because Swan actually goes to Shinar, and yeah. But anyway, it's so yeah, we think that's very, very poor, very badly handled. And if you actually look at some of the other things that Moraine does, Moraine abandons. By the way, there is a cool fight scene where like Lan does protect her from like getting killed, which is pretty cool.
That's the one moment I liked about that episode.
Yeah, but then she goes to Carine, and one of the things is that when she's there, because that happens in these episodes, is she meets her sister. And I just want to show another example of where they've departed from canon and then they don't know what to do with themselves. So they decide that Moraine is 80 years old. She just blatantly isn't. She's meant to be like 30, almost 40, I think. She's born in 56 and it's 90 odd. And so, like, the key thing is Moraine, when Rand is born, Moraine and Swan are still accepted.
Yeah.
Right? They are accepted, and they are young accepted. They're like 20 when Rand is born. And like they're now trying to portray Moraine as having to deal with the fact that she's actually ancient in a young woman's body. She isn't. Why invent that? That doesn't exist. And so they create this problem with her sister, also not existing.
I wonder if they're just trying to make like the agelessness of the Aes Sedai just way more blatant because they think people are gonna have trouble understanding it.
I think it's we need Moraine to have more conflict, internal conflict to deal with, and so we need her to have a conflict with her family. We need her to have conflict with Lan. We need her to struggle under her heavy load, and so that we can like really get into how powerful and strong she is. I'm like, look, get on with the actual story. Just get on with the story.
Yeah.
I think the big problem is turning her. They had to turn her into a major POV character, which she is not in the second book.
Yeah.
But they have Rosamund Pike, and they need to use her.
But they could still do that. Imagine if Rosamund Pike is with Rand throughout, and her and Lan are mentors of him through each stage, like Giles with Buffy, right? In like the Buffy series, Giles is clearly just a background character compared to her, but he's in every episode with major things to do, and he has the acting chops that let the younger actors show what acting's all about. They could have had Rosamund Pike do that, but they didn't because they're like, it's 2023 and we need it to be relationship.
By the way, like in terms of Moraine and the emotional crap too, like why do they have Moraine always on the verge of tears? Like she's supposed to be this somewhat like pretty stoic character too. She's not Lan, but she's supposed to be like female Gandalf, like,
controlled,
poised,
Sorry, what were you saying, Dusty?
You wouldn't see Gandalf like almost crying and shit. Like,
no, I was like saying, that would be a great idea, but I do know that in book 2, Rand definitely has to take a journey alone in order for Lanfear to become a problem, and 8 episodes is just not enough time. So they kind of have to like squeeze all of this stuff into the story into a time that's not enough time to tell the story.
Yeah, definitely. Like even though they're condensing a lot of stuff and deleting characters and combining them, they're still trying to cover too much ground in 8 episodes.
Yeah, like this
Agreed.
Lan and Moraine plot is basically kind of out of sequence. This is maybe something that should have been happening around book 5, but they
Yeah.
kind of just took it out of book 5 and thrusted it all the way into book 2.
And like one of the other things about Moraine as well, like you just talked about how she's almost always on the verge of tears, but the other thing is, why is she treating everyone like crap? Like Moraine is clever. She's a blue. She understands how to manipulate people. So why would she come in and be like a freaking arrogant jerk to her sister when with just a tiny bit of time she could turn her into ultimate sweetness? Why would she treat Lan like utter crap when with just a tiny bit of moderation she could get everything out of Lan that she wants?
Well, and also like minor spoiler alert for a later episode, but apparently Land thinks you're acting all emotionally weird. So I consulted some people and I figured out this weird canon breaking shit that's made you act like you're on your period all the time.
Anyway, but yeah, so Moraine Lan not handled well, both out of character, and one of the major reasons is because the show doesn't know how to deal with them because it's created non-character related things that just have pushed them off plot. That's our view.
Okay, so we got this this one out of the way. What do you think about Perrin's journey?
Okay. On the whole, not bad. Not bad. Like they do like the wolf powers as like visions, but I guess that like you can't really show smell. And now that they've got Elias in, using Elias instead of Hurin, great choice. Like that's a great adaptation choice. Hurin is a very minor character. Merging him with Elias and having him be the guide makes sense. It gives Elias a chance to teach him some stuff about the wolves. So he got to drop in things like wanting uncooked meat, got to help him out, got to rescue him. But we see that Elias is a good guy, but not really loyal to the Shienarans or anyone else. Like he's out for himself. We got to have the introduction of Hopper. Yay. We got to see Perrin kick a bit of ass, which is nice. Got to show that he's not just a pacifist. He wants to be like clean and not hurt people, but we've got to see this other side of him. Don't know why they're having him fight with a sword when he could just give the guy an axe. I mean, do you have to like? It's again. I think that's almost like a let's make sure they know this isn't the books. But the wolf
Yeah,
stuff's,
exactly.
but the wolf stuff's okay. Like especially when he says that's their language. So it's actually like it's the wolves through the wolf dream telling him these visions. He's not actually seeing the future or the past. The wolves are saying, "This is what's happened. This is what we smelled." And so, I'm not as uncomfortable with the visions as I was before. And luckily, it looks very clear now. Like they're not just going to make him into some kind of werewolf. Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Though the idea that Ishmael's like, "I have you now." I'm like,
Yeah, and what's like? This is why this is a major aspect. All this stuff with Ishmael getting involved with way more main and secondary characters than he does in the books. I think like this is yet another aspect that I would love if I hadn't read the books. But it like pisses me off because it's so different from the books. But I think this would be so awesome if it were some Wheel of Time spin-off show and they did this with a totally different character. That would be awesome.
yeah, they should just do it in their dreams. You
Yeah.
should just have it be in the land of dreams. But on the whole, pretty happy with Perrin. But
I do like most of the Perrin parts too. I totally agree. Like pretty okay, not amazing, not bad.
We've got to sorry.
So let's talk about episode
lag.
5 in Perrin.
Sorry,
yeah.
Dusty?
The meeting
Episode
of
5
and Aviendha, and then the White Cloaks.
Yep. Okay. Cool. So, great that they've brought Bornhart in. Like, great. Dane Bornhart. Yes. Good actor. Like, yes, he's a White Cloak. No, he's not a complete jerk. But yes, he's a White Cloak. And yes, he's going to act like White Cloak acts. Yes, he is going to say.
I do like that. Yeah, I like that they're having some variety between the different White Cloaks.
Yeah, and actually, when we saw Bornhart's dad in the first season, he didn't act just like a jerk. He was a bit officious, but he wasn't he wasn't the same as like nutcase. I love the fact that he's now an Inquisitor and they're showing the crook and the symbolism. Love the costuming. Well done. But anyway, about them using Aviendha instead of Gaul. I'm sorry to see back Gaul because I love Gaul, but
Yeah,
actually
Gaul's
that makes complete
awesome.
sense. But it does make
Aviendha,
sense.
Aviendha's awesome too, but Gaul is
I
so
love Gaul.
awesome.
He was a great secondary character. But I understand, short in time, this is an adaptation I can get behind. Okay, you want to introduce as few characters as possible and make your point, and it completely makes sense. Aviendha traveling with Maidens of the Spear in the wetlands does happen. She could have been the one in the cage. Fair enough. And they've been able to use that that sequence of he doesn't like people being caged. He frees the ale even though he's the Aiel even though he's told not to. That's great. That's Perrin. It shows that he's brave, but it also shows like when Aviendha goes, like he's like maybe get behind me, and she's like, oh my sweet summer child, you get behind me, and that makes sense because Perrin's a big tough guy, but he hasn't been fighting all his life. Aviendha has, and I was a little bit like, really, this many white cloaks should totally take her down, but
it's the same. Like usually in the books, which seems to be canon, is that it takes at least 10 to a dozen wetlanders to take down a single Aiel.
Well, if you actually, I not if they're on their own, because like when Rand takes on 5 people, they say that like stories of one person taking out 5 is almost never really the case. But it's the Aiel work in an army, yeah. But if you're surrounding one person and you all just rush them, like, and Bornholt says to do that, it almost doesn't matter how good you are. Like you'll take out some. But
they do that. They do that so
here's-
much in movies and TV shows. They have one guy fighting multiple opponents.
There is an instance though that is alluded to. There is this point in time where Perrin in the book actually comes across like a random Aiel, and the Aiel basically
has taken out.
Taken out like 8 or 9 guys, and they were white cloaks. So it's not like.
It's not.
Like,
it's not.
There's a difference between a Shienarans and Aiel. That's a whole different thing. Yeah. But I believe like they could take out white cloaks in that amount.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. I always remember that scene in the Black Tower when Rand is practicing with 5 people, and he's basically a blade master at this point, and he considers it a big challenge to take out 5. But yeah. But no.
Well,
but she
there's
does.
a difference between Aiel and Blade Master Rand is that Aiel don't necessarily rely on their spears. Like they're trained in various aspects of martial arts.
Hand combat.
Right. Whereas, a blade
they are,
master
but and to be fair, they handled it well. Like, yeah, and they handled it well. Like she does it in a believable way. Like they don't have her like bench pressing 3 guys at once or hitting them once across the room.
That does happen in some things nowadays.
In some shows, this 80-pound woman hits a guy and he just flies across the room, and you're like,
"Oh, well, like Scarlett Johansson in the Avengers, though. Like she's a world-class assassin, yes, but she's fighting and beating the fuck out of like 20 guys at once. Yeah, she's a world-class assassin, but so are these guys, and they're way bigger than her.
Supposedly. But anyway, but they do a good job. I love the fact that they introduce with Aviendha so much about the Aiel. They show the veiling. They show the fact that women know how to fight. They show the fact that she's so dangerous. They have her talk in a really good way. Like she says, "My water is yours," and then like she tells him that she has talked to him, and like takes it really seriously. But she's very comfortable and casual about sex, and that's very much the Aiel don't have wetlander hang-ups. They're not as like westernized as the Randland people are, and so it's cool.
And the Aiel kind of have to. Well, I guess they introduced polyamory here with the warders. But I know that was also a big aspect of Aiel society as well.
It is, and I'm sure, they will touch on that. And Like but I just think that was a really good scene. It was well handled. Perrin wasn't useless in it, and Perrin kicking some trash did not take away from Avienda's awesomeness, even slightly. She was able to show that she was different level, but Perrin wasn't utterly useless, which I appreciate. It was a good action sequence.
Totally. Yeah, well said.
And he chooses to spare Bornhold, which I also think is good. Like he's like, yeah, we've beaten them all, and we had to kill some of them, but let's not murder him when we don't need to. And he says to her, he gave you water, which is really cool because that is something that an Aiel would respect.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. I thought that scene, that introduction. In fact, I think that might have been one of the best introductions of a character that we've had. It was really good.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I agree. All right. Did you want to talk about Rand's journey through this all?
So
are we missing any other minor characters? Do we have to talk about Brother Patchy and what happened?
So they murdered Uno, but actually it makes sense. Uno wouldn't be bowing to the freaking Seanchan, and Seanchan absolutely do kill people who don't swear their oaths.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
Before we get into Rand, though, I think they did an amazing job portraying the Seanchan.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, that was one good aspect of the
Seanchan looked like the Seanchan. They feel right, like and including like the finger language, the nails, the haircuts. The only thing they did that was out of line, for me, is they have Suroth like talk back to High Lord Turok, like, and then it's shown that she's gone too far and she gets in trouble. But like the point is, no freaking way. Like,
well, she got her fingernails cut off.
But like, she backchats him. She's like, maybe you made a mistake. You're like, if you understand anything about Seanchan society, that is utterly impossible that she would say that. Impossible. And so I was just like, oh, but I know that the TV watching crowd don't know that, so it doesn't really matter. That was only a Tristram Johnson moment where I was just like, I physically pulled my feet off the floor and hugged my knees next to my wife when that happened. Like, no! Like, don't do this. Because I'm just like, that's just so un-Seanchan, it curdles my liver. Anyway, but
I do see though that like Suroth doesn't have a lot of screen time in the
you've just got to portray her fall.
Yeah, unless they're trying, it looks like they're setting her up as somewhat of emotionally unstable person.
Yeah, absolutely. Like. Yeah, and her knowledge that I've got Ishmael here with me means that I'm untouchable now, and he's like, "Oh, you're totally touchable." Anyway, I'm gonna have to go in a minute, but I just want to touch on a couple of points before I do, if that's okay, Dusty.
Yeah, of course.
So just Min and Matt, like, why are you making Min evil? Like, she's like, oh, my visions are so hard, I can't bear it. I'm just going to completely collaborate with everyone who's evil. Like, have you met Min? Like, Min is a plucky underdog. She wouldn't do that. And like the other thing is, you know, when we talk about the hard magic systems and how they're messing with them, they've messed with Min's ability. They've turned her from quite an interesting, cool way of having visions to just generic fortune teller number 7. Like, like, why? What she sees is these sort of symbolisms, and sometimes she knows what they mean, sometimes she doesn't. And if she does see them, she never tries to stop them happening because they always happen. And she knows they always happen. And she knows trying to stop them happening is pointless. So she doesn't usually tell people because they just are inevitable. And the idea that she's seen Matt kill Rand, why? Why show something that isn't there when there's so much you could show that is there? Mm-hmm. And secondly, why have her try and like send Matt off in a different direction to prevent it when she wouldn't do that because she knows it can't be done? Just pointless. Yeah. And thinking that she would work with and he tells her who he is. He's like, I am Hope Killer or whatever. So she knows it's freaking him. And he's like, yeah, and she's still gonna work with him? No way. You are assassinating Min's character. Stop it. Stop it now. Anyway, so that's definitely. I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
I have a theory.
All right.
I think they might be abandoning the redeemable dark friends storyline from Ingtar, and they're
Mm.
kind of putting it on men. It seems like.
Stupid.
Well, Ingtar is here and is already going to have his arc. So
I don't
Anyway.
know. We'll see if he actually does or not.
no, he is going to have his arc, because remember when they were burying the Dark Friends? He's like, well, Dark Friends might have had reasons for what they're doing. He's definitely a Dark Friend. They're definitely going to have that. 100%. They had like foreshadowing much. Anyway, I gotta go.
Well, we'll see in the next episode if they actually pay off on that.
Yeah, they should. If they don't, they're stupid.
But I think
but-
it's okay to do this. Well,
Yeah.
one of the things I think they're trying to do is make Dark Friends not these cartoonishly evil people.
But they aren't.
Yeah, I don't like that. That's another thing that would be interesting if this were a spin-off show, but it's not.
But the thing is, Dark Friends aren't cartoonishly evil. They've sworn
Well,
themselves
some
to
of
the
them
dark.
are. In the when I mean cartoonishly evil,
Like,
meaning
who?
just like the ones you see that don't really have any redeeming qualities. Like most of them have zero redeeming qualities
Well,
in
like,
the book.
but oh, sorry, but you don't. That's not cartoonishly evil. Like, you don't need like the Emperor Palpatine, right? He has no redeeming
Right.
qualities, but he's not cartoonishly evil. He is.
Well,
He's got absolute. The point is that all the Dark Friends in the books, anyone that we get to see for more than a couple of pages, has a motive. The point is, it's
Right.
greed, it's sex, it's power, and like actually, we can all relate to that, wanting a
Mhm.
bit of greed, sex, and power. And so what they're offering is things
Weird
like
thing is about men doesn't really have that problem with greed, sex, or power.
exactly.
It's like,
That's why they've got to try and pretend that she's like desperate to get rid of her visions, and that she believes they can do it for her for some obscure reason. Anyway,
Stupid.
we're not going to get to go the whole hog, so I'm just going to go Lanfear and Rand. Okay,
yeah, we
Lanfear.
can talk about that.
I'm fine with the way that
Yeah.
they've switched Serene round. They're not going to do portal stones because it would have been a whole extra thing. So introduce her. I'm fine with Rand falling for her. She's a hot young girl. He's a hot young guy. Let's do this. That sounds great. Manipulation by her, the way she twists him, I'm quite happy with. I think the actress does an okay job. But why have they decided to say that the Forsaken are like demigods? Like, where does this come from? Like,
Yeah.
you if you slit a Forsaken's throat, they die. Okay, like anybody, they're just
Yeah,
very powerful
Lanfear
channels.
shouldn't come back to life.
They think they're
And then,
treating
like,
them.
if they can
like
get any
demons.
form of resurrected, they become like a different person, right?
Yeah, he rebirths them. He creates
Yeah.
a new body and puts them in it. Like there's none of this I'm immortal crap. Not at all.
Mhm.
Like, and that's the same thing with Aes Sedai. They're just really powerful Aes Sedai. That's it. And if they get killed, the Dark One can bring them back, because some of them have touch of the one power, the true power. But like Lanfear just like has been, and like again, they're doing this thing of they don't want to talk about how.
I don't think they're immortal though. I think
Oh,
you
no.
could probably behead one or
No.
balefire one.
No.
And they're done.
Balefire, yeah, you can balefire them. That's what they're going to say. They're
But
going
look
to
at
say,
what they did. Look at what they did when Moraine killed
Yeah.
Celine / Lanfear and knew she was gonna come back immediately.
Moraine gets a knife, rips her
Mhm.
throat open, and could literally sit there and chop through her neck if she wanted to, because Lanfear doesn't get up for a few seconds. So clearly, if beheading would work, they could have beheaded her. They do not. And basically, she says she can't be killed. She can't be killed. It is,
Mhm.
they've caused themselves a problem. Now that they've said that, we're stuck with that for the rest of the series. And
Or
so,
may or may not be. May or may not be. Because we know that, at least from future episodes, that they didn't know about tying off leaves and crap. So
yeah,
it's
but
possible it could have been like a.
they did it.
Yeah. What I'm saying is maybe there's this weave that activates or something when they get mortally wounded.
I really.
That's
That's
Anyway.
what I'm
stupid.
thinking.
All right.
That's what I'm thinking.
All I'm saying is that Moraine is suggesting that she knows tons about the Forsaken. Like, I don't know how she would have learned it all, but she's like, yeah, I know that the Forsaken are immune to this and this and this. And they're kind of playing with Talar and Riod, which I like, but they're also being weird about it, because you can't actually just go and find people and kill them in Talar and Riod. You can try, by going in their dreams, but if they're strong enough, they can hold their own. Otherwise, they would have just killed them in their dreams immediately in the Great Hunt, because
Yeah.
if they could just kill them, they would. But basically, it's suggesting that Lanfear can just murder anyone she likes whenever she likes, and they want Lanfear for some reason. Oh, hang on, I know the reason. It's because she's a body type 1. They want Lanfear to be the most dangerous of the Forsaken. So they. By the way, what is the thing with like the breaking of the seal and her appear as like a blood demon or something? That was just stupid.
Yeah.
Well, I think covered with barbecue sauce, according to
It was just pointless. It was pointless. It was a waste of time. And then having her be immortal, I hate. But her manipulation of Rand, the fact that Rand's starting to accidentally use his powers, and she's like saying, "Oh, it's okay," and the conversations that they have where it hints at this old boyfriend, and he's trying to adjust. I'm fine with that. Absolutely fine with Logain replacing Asmodean and him finding a way. I find it odd that Rand found it okay to basically go and assassinate a guy. I thought that was a bit.
I find it odd that he's like working with Lanfear.
Well, and because they changed the story. They've made Lanfear invincible, right? They've made her unstoppable. They've made her Juggernaut. So because she's unstoppable, they have to work with her. They have to, because she can't be stopped. They had her just walk.
I think they're not going to kill her, and she's just going to survive the whole series.
Oh, she's going to be the bad guy who's going to turn good. They better not. No. They better not. Anyway,
but man, that would be terrible.
But the point is, they've made Lanfear too powerful. They've made her into this thing that can't be stopped. So then they're coming up with reasons why she doesn't just win. And the reason is she wants to turn Rand, and so that's the only reason. But anyway, we won't get into episode 7. But where the Lanfear arc goes, I hate. But the Selene manipulation I like. The Forsaken or Immortal is stupid. It's stupid. And
I think it's just immortal for now. I don't think they're gonna remain that way.
We know they've been inconsistent even in their breaking of the canon.
Yeah,
they're not immortal. They're just like impervious to certain types of harm.
That's very similar to. But right. Yeah, if they'd done something like she's established wards, so that when people come in, she can turn around and block and flee. But this idea that you can just have your throat ripped open and then it self-heals. No Wolverine in my Wheel of Time, please. No Wolverine in my Wheel of Time. And so, I find that I much prefer Ishmael and how he's portrayed as this working behind the scenes. But one of the reasons they're working behind the scenes is they can be killed. If you march up to 14 women who are in a circle, you're toast, right? You're toast. And it doesn't matter if you're the dragon, doesn't matter if you're Lanfear, you're toast. And so people don't. That's why they don't. That's why they're working behind the scenes. That's why they're gathering armies. That's why they're manipulating and using the Mask of Mirrors. And it's just annoying to have all that nuance just destroyed, and they've just turned them into random superpowered man and woman 3.
Man, it's like they're trying to import the wrong aspects of Game of Thrones and get rid of the right aspects. They could have imported the political machinations of people and shit.
Yeah, when was Game of Thrones at its best? When it was at low magic and high acting.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but House of Cards plus fantasy.
Correct. And anyway, that is my view. So Lanfear manipulation is Selene, great. Lanfear's power level, stupid. And her origin, stupid. But the Rand, I love the actor. I think I was nervous when it first started in season 1, but he's won me over. I quite like him. I think he is showing someone who is disturbed, doesn't know who to trust. Fair play to the guy. And the new actor, I absolutely believe he's Matt.
Me too.
He's done a great job, and he's even done a good job of being the Barney Matt. So it still feels in line. It's pretty consistent. And so A+ to those actors. Good job, guys. Keep it up. I've really got to go. My wife's going to kick my trash. So, and isn't that a very Wheel of Time thing? Because in the Wheel of Time, the men may be cool, but they're all afraid that their wife's going to kick their trash. So, bye, guys.
Always fun to talk with you, man. Have a good night.
Take it easy. All right, so I know there's a few more aspects that we can talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I was thinking, um, like Rand in particular, um, we do see him undergo like a hint of madness. What do you think about that?
I think that's I think that's interesting. Yeah, that's good because it is a crucial aspects of the book, of course. Books rather.
Right. And as far as the one of the things I thought was interesting, did you want to talk about the tree singing thing that happened with Loyal?
Oh yeah, they I forget there was one part where people are trying to get him to do it and he's very reluctant to do it, but he does. I did kind of like that part. What did you think of that part? You there, Dusty?
Yes, I thought the portrayal was interesting. Like the actual singing itself was like this chant type of thing that sounded like Tibetan monk or something.
Mm-hmm.
I thought was interesting. Um, seeing the tree singing was actually, oh yeah, that's a loyal tree singing. Pretty cool. And he
Mm-hmm.
seemed like pretty upset, like while he was doing it
Yeah,
and after.
yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. Do you like Hopper?
Yeah, I like Hopper. I think they
Good
did
old boy
a
Hopper.
decent job with him. Do you like Hopper?
I thought they picked a pretty personable dog or wolf. I don't know if it's that either a dog or wolf, but um, he's going to be missed once his dream comes to pass.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
think
it would be the I do like the I I do think the stuff with Perrin is okay for the most part, and but yeah, like Tristram was saying, it would be way better if he could still have his axe for now.
all right. So one character we didn't really discuss was Varen. What are you thinking of her portrayal?
Yeah, Varen, like I was saying to you guys before, she's one of the few characters who I have virtually no complaints with for this season, I would say. I think the actor is good, and since I've read the books, I know that she's like kind of morally gray, kind of like some sort of triple agent, but they're not hinting at that yet, which is appropriate because they're not supposed to hint at that yet. So I think that stuff was pretty good. What about you?
One interesting thing about her is that they're kind of hinting her role in the story,
Oh, are they?
and
I
like,
must have missed that.
well, her ultimate sacrifice kind of is about her role, you know,
Okay.
because in the books, her ultimate sacrifice is, hey, here's all the stuff I found out about the Black Aja. Go get them. So right now on the show, it seems like she's on the Aja hunt
Right.
because she's going through records and trying to find out what's going on with the girls. And she comes to the realization that compulsion had been used to alter some records.
Oh, right. Right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
So right now, she's the only one who knows that there's a Black Aja about. I believe
Right.
her and another character that gets killed, but she is the only one that knows as of these 3 episodes that there's Black Aja in White Town.
Right.
So yeah, and I always liked Varen because she seemed like this nerdy Aes Sedai with a bit of an edge. She seems to be portraying that role pretty good. I think the last time I talked with Tristram, he thought she was too charismatic. I think
Hmm.
that might be the case as well because
I could
she
see
seems
that.
to just,
Yeah.
yeah, she seems to say like the most appropriate things at the right time that somebody only with perfect timing and social awareness have, which isn't really how you would kind of portray or even describe Aaron as. She's not
Yeah.
the most socially aware person. I think that's basically it. But
Yeah,
what
that's
do you
true.
think about that?
Yeah, that's true. I didn't realize that as much, but yeah, that's definitely true.
Right, right. But yeah, they're doing pretty well with Baron. But there's going to be a lot to talk about when we get together and talk about the next 3 episodes. We're going to do 6, 7, and 8. Because I see that they're merging some other characters as well together. I know as far as the current episodes that we're talking about, Alana's been merged into 2 different characters. So Alana's been merged with Morel. And Morel is the Aes Sedai who takes over Lan's bond.
Right.
So, and it's funny too because Morel was like the polyamorous one, and they
Yeah,
gave
that's
to
why
Alana.
I didn't get those changes with Alana and stuff. I mean, I guess I somewhat understand, but they still kind of changed a lot of aspects of the character for that reason.
Yeah, she's being combined. So she's definitely being combined with Morel, who is a polyamorous green Aes Sedai who takes over Lan's bond. I know she bones Lan in the book.
Right.
At least it's implied. At least it's not like directly said. I don't know what they're gonna do in this.
I
It
think they
seems
might
like
have
that might
they'll
probably
probably
not
have
be
a
the
sex
case.
scene between them, I bet.
I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll see. Um, unless they keep it just like the books where they imply it but don't really say
Yeah.
anything like
I mean, that
direct.
is what Robert Jordan does.
Right, right. Except the igloo scene,
Yeah.
sex happens there.
Yeah. Igloo sex.
Yeah, there are a couple of times we know where sex happened directly after or before. They just didn't describe the scene itself. But yeah, that's we'll see. I don't know. They might drop that plot line. I don't think they're gonna make Lan get it on with Alana or anything. We'll see.
Yeah.
Because
I,
this plot line that they're doing is straight. It's not. I think it's coming from book 5,
yeah.
where basically Moraine is trying to prepare Lan by
Right.
saying, "Hey, if something happens to me, my bond's going to this person," and she doesn't let him in on what's going on either. So I think that's kind of what they're trying to do here with the season is making
Uh,
her distant from Lan for the reasons of, hey, I'm shifting your bond over, and there's nothing that you're going to do to convince me to change anything about
they should
that.
have made that way more clear if that's what they were trying to do. But that's like the way they executed that was terrible.
Yeah, it's probably too early to do that. To be honest, it's like
Yeah.
7th season,
And
and then
it seems like they're messing up the order in which things happen too. So I don't know what they're gonna do with that unless they just ignore a whole bunch of shit, which they could do. And there is some stuff that you can ignore, but there's some stuff that they're ignoring that they should include too.
it looks like they're going to do a lot of sequence breaking. They've done it. Especially with when we're going to talk about the next episodes, there's definitely some sequence breaking.
Hmm.
But as far as this season, I feel that you are thinking that the first season is better than this season. Is that
Yeah, I
what I
agree with that
understand?
so far too. I like season. I still like season 1 more than season 2 overall so far. Yeah.
Um, I think I am liking 2 better
Oh
because
yeah.
there's just more stuff happening. Uh, like we have our definite like hardcore villains here, and there's the machinations and character twists and plots that are happening. Um, I thought season 1 was good because it was more based in canon, but I believe the acting in season 2 is much more phenomenal.
Oh, okay. I think
And just like the
to me
entertainment factor
to
is
me the
much
acting
more.
between 1 and 2 is fairly equal. Like I like the in the sense that I like most of the acting. But yeah, I mean, I still like season 1 more overall. I guess, but partially at least, or perhaps majorly, because one of the reasons you mentioned, which is that they're breaking canon more.
Yeah, and also when I say acting, like I think I'm biased towards villains. I believe that villains carry a lot more weight in acting chops than like the protagonists do.
Yeah,
And
I
I
think you're
feel
probably right. Yeah.
and I feel that season 2 is so chock full of villains that I'm like, man, um, I think all the villains are well acted. Like I like Ashamiel, I like Lanfear's portrayal, I like
Yeah.
Sir Roth, and um, of course um, Leandrin. I know we're missing
Yeah, but they screwed.
Padan Fain.
I agree that the acting is good with all of those characters, but they screwed up like what they're doing with them in the plot in so many cases. Like especially like Ishamael and and Lanfear. Like
Ashamiel and Lanfear.
yeah.
Yeah, that's like a little minor thing to me. It's it's not something that totally destroys the story or anything. That he unsealed her. Yeah, it's
It just like totally changes the dynamic between Rand and Lanfear though, like especially after he finds out that Selene is actually Lanfear.
like what do you mean by changes the dynamic?
Well, because he still ends up working with her.
Oh, because of that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit different. Um, we'll see how that portrays. Like, it's really hard for me to judge that right now because it's an ongoing thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'll have to see how episode 8 pans out and what they're going to do with that.
Man, if episode
Yeah.
8 is as bad in this season as it was in season 1, I might just bail on the show.
From the next time on, it looks on par with what I thought it was going to be.
People going to farm.
With yeah, like it showed like the white cloaks attacking and everything, and well, it's going to be like a big battle scene, I know for sure. Um, but we'll see. We'll see how it works. I'm not thinking they can't mess it up too much. Everyone's going to farm. We'll
Mm-hmm.
see what happens.
I can see a lot of different ways they could mess it up.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, of course.
Let's see. I think we covered quite a bit of stuff. Were there
Mm-hmm.
any? What are your major cons about 3 to 5 episodes 3 to 5? Things that
Major
are
what?
a little
Sorry.
buggy. Your major cons, like pros and cons.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I guess. I guess I like the. Well, like you were saying, I guess the major pro for me is probably the acting, and I guess in terms of these 3 episodes, some of what happens with Nynaeve and till around Riode, for example, I like, and what else is there? I'm trying to distinguish in my head these episodes from the other episodes. Oh yeah, I guess like the the dynamic between Rand and Selene before he finds out she's Lanfear, rather is better, like I said, than their dynamic after he finds out that she's Lanfear. So in these episodes, when he's just like in a relationship with Celine, I kind of get that, but I still don't like the fact that they changed the way that all of this happens in comparison to the way they do it in the books. And I like the way that they meet and all of this stuff a lot more in the books than I do in the show. And I mean, I guess I guess I kind of spent most of this time already listing most of my cons. Oh yeah, I mean, the dynamic between Nynaeve and Elaine and Egwene, I think that's pretty good too. And I guess like I was saying, the biggest cons are the relationship between Moiraine and Land, all that stuff that they changed, all the stuff I mentioned all the stuff they changed with Rand and Lanfear, and like all this like canon breaking stuff is really messing up what they're doing with the plot, which they could just if they just executed the plot in a better way, I think that would improve the show a hell of a lot.
Yeah, I think this season actually gives them. So I'm probably thinking of this as more of a long-term thing. So there were some things, of course, that happened in the first season that were outside of the control of some people, which caused them to diverge quite a bit towards the end of the season.
Hmm.
I think
Especially the big three female characters, I think.
yeah, and I think this was kind of an opportunity for them to try to come back to a spot where it more coalesces with the books. I'm thinking, at least in this final episode, when everybody's gathered together, they're going to have the opportunity to reset back into the original mode of the book. I think what
Then the
happened
whole season
is,
was a waste, man.
well, not really. They got a lot of the major plot points on.
Yeah, but
Another
they
thing
did
too. I
this
don't.
whole meandering thing that's so different from the books in order to get to that point.
Well, in some parts, yes. Some parts, not so much. Like Perrin, his is very streamlined a version of what happens in the books.
Yeah,
The
his
girls have a
is.
very streamlined version of what happens in the books. Rand is extremely streamlined. They
Yeah.
kind of cut off half of his plot, which I don't mind because it would have been weird of him traveling in an alternate dimension with Celine. And
I
then
think that would have been
yeah,
cool, man.
it would have, but it's like they don't have enough time to tell that story.
They could have
You know,
told that story but condensed it.
well, they couldn't have told that story and also like had Rand have a mentor in the One Power, and then him being able to meet up back with Moraine.
But they could have had that
Moraine.
whole that whole section when they were in a relationship with each other and she owns a tavern and shit. They could have, instead of that, they could have had the whole them traveling around in an alternate dimension stuff.
Yeah, but the problem is how does Rand get into an alternate dimension? There's no way to really get Rand to that point.
How does he get there in
Um,
the books? I don't remember.
he's initially on the hunt for the horn, and when they're asleep one night, they're like sleeping too close to a portal stone, and he accidentally activates it and gets sucked inside.
That would be way better.
Yeah, they just couldn't do it because he wasn't on the hunt for the horn.
Well, that's another problem too. This is supposed to be about the hunt for the horn. It's supposed to be a major part of the plot for this season, I would say, and they barely include it.
Well, that's Perrin's part of the plot, and they kind of resolved that once they got captured
But
and they got
If
taken.
Rand were involved in that plot too, like he's the way he's supposed to be, it would have also allowed them to execute the part with him and Celine / Lanfear in a much better way, I think.
Well, Rand definitely gets separated from the group with Celine / Lanfear. That
Yeah,
definitely happens. But
but
I
in a
think it's
worse
fine
way.
with him not going into the alternate dimension.
But that
Because
would have
that's
been
like
way
one.
better. That would have been way better than him being like, yeah,
Well, the
I'm with
problem with
Celine,
the
she's hot.
alternate dimension is that it's only in this book. This is like something they would have to set up in the show, and
Well, they
they're
don't
kind of
have a
throwing
problem
away.
with being inconsistent with a number of other things, though.
Well, I think the alternate dimension, while cool, was something that was kind of weird and didn't really make a whole lot of sense in the whole scheme of the entire story of the Wheel of Time.
But they're
'Cause that's
choosing to have things not make sense in worse ways.
because I don't think that the Lanfear stuff doesn't make sense. It's different from the books.
But it's
But
still better. It's still way better in the books, and it's like it's more interesting, and it's like if you've read the books, it's just so much less interesting than the way it's done in the books.
it's hard for me to say because I've read the books. Um, of course, it's usually the book's always going to be better than the show. But as far as like pure show watchers go, as far as what I've seen, like these things aren't necessarily striking or bad to them.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, though. If it's an adaptation of a book series, it shouldn't be worse if you have read the books than it is if you haven't read the books. Like for watching the
Well, it's
show,
almost going to be worse. Like I've
I wish I
never.
hadn't read the books though. With other adaptations, the changes are like more minor to the point where I can have no problem with it. Like the changes in
Well, like
Lord of the Rings, for example. Like all of the like there are way more changes here, and they're painting themselves into corners, and it's so
well,
dumb.
here's what I'll say. I'll give another adaptation that's very different as far as a lot of the plot things. Like Ready Player One, that adaptation is super different from like the actual book. Like
It's still way closer to the book than Wheel of Time is, man.
um I don't know, they changed like an entire. No, I think it's pretty different, like to be honest. Like all the challenges are freaking different. Like they're not even the same challenges. The only challenge that they kept in that was the
But they
same
still
was
had them being
finding.
challenges. If it were Wheel of Time, they wouldn't even be challenges. It would be something totally different.
I don't know. It seems to me that like I'm still enjoying the show.
I'm not.
I'm not like nitpicking about lore or anything. I've kind of as far as like adaptations, because whenever I read a book, I find the movie of it and I watch it. And I've seen so many adaptations that were not squarely based off of the books that I'll take the adaptation for what it is than not what I was expecting it to be. And that's kind of
I'm totally fine with that most of the time too. It's just that there are way more changes in this than literally any other adaptation
well,
I've
that's
ever
what I'm
seen. And
saying.
some of
That's
this
part
and
of it.
oh, okay.
That's part of it. That's what I'm saying. Like you're expecting it to be a certain way based off of the book. And what I'm trying to say is I am trying to view the media not based off of my expectations, but what it is, what I'm being presented with.
Yeah, but it's still based on books. Like if
Well, of
If the
course.
Lord of the Rings movies like changed this much shit in
It
comparison to the
depends, man,
books,
because there's
I wouldn't like the
plenty of
Lord of the Rings
movies.
movies either.
There's plenty of movies that I've seen that I have not read the books. Plenty. So
Okay,
usually, like, I've seen The Shining, and I've never read The Shining.
me neither.
And I like the movie.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure, from what I've heard, is that the movie is very, very different from the books.
I've heard that too. But that's a that's an example that's proving my point though. Like I wish that were the case for me with
I Well, I
oh my
understand your
I
criticism.
wish that were the case for me with Wheel of Time because if I watched the
Well,
show first, then I would probably and read the books after, I would probably like the show a lot more, as is the case with The Shining for me. So I will read The Shining because I love Stephen King books. But even if there are a lot of changes, I'll be more forgiving that way because I watched the movie first and because I like the movie. So I mean, I can understand why people who haven't read the books would like the show more, but it shouldn't be the case that that you shouldn't read the book if you want to like the movie.
no, okay, I get it. Like what I'm trying to say is, when people watch the show, it's not like they're comparing it to the material. Like you say, watch the show more, but I'm just saying that they watch the show and enjoy it. I've rarely encountered any case in which I've read the book and liked the show more. And I'm talking about even watching the show or movie before I've read the books. Because there's been a lot of times where I've watched a movie or show and found out it was based off of the book, and I went and read the book and I enjoyed the book more. You know, that happened to me with Game of Thrones. That happened to me
I know that I
with Lord of
totally
the
agree with
Rings.
that, but it's I'm talking about like the degree. This is so much worse than the books.
It's different. I don't know if it's like worse. Like for me, there are parts that are bad. Obviously, like the Moraine and land stuff. The other stuff I don't really have a problem with at all, and that's because
Really?
no, because like I said, I'm not trying to base this off of what I'm expecting, but what is presented.
But you shouldn't have
Um,
no expectations for a TV show adaptation.
I'm expecting it to be entertaining. That's kind of what I'm expecting it to be. It's like if I like
But
what's
then it
going
shouldn't be Wheel
on,
of Time though. It should be at least close to the books. It's not that close.
I think it's close enough.
I don't.
Yeah, to me, it's close enough. Like I've if that were the case, I wouldn't call Ready Player One an adaptation.
Oh, I'm not saying it's not an adaptation. I'm saying, it's still an adaptation, but it would be better if it were not an adaptation, which shouldn't be the case with an adaptation, in my opinion.
I think an adaptation doesn't necessarily need to be close. It needs to fit the medium in a more correct way. Like
But
if they had 12
this could
episodes per
still be
season,
way closer to the books and
it
fit the
could
medium and
if they
be
had
better
12
than the books. It
episodes.
could be better than the books. I could see
No,
so
it
many
would not
ways
be
in how
better. There's
I
no
could see
way
so
that
many
a
ways
TV
in which
show
it could
is.
be better than the books with condensing some shit like the slog, for example, but they're not doing that.
We don't know because we're not at the slog.
I
I
know, but
have
they're already making it more sloggy than it needs to be.
I didn't. I don't know. I thought the first season had the sloggiest episode.
No, man. This is like
The Warder episode was like completely unnecessary and sloggy.
yeah, but like every part of every episode in this season that had to do with Lana Moraine was boring, and
I didn't think so.
half like aspects of almost every other scene were bad too.
I didn't think they didn't focus on Landon Moraine a whole lot.
Yeah, they did, man.
Well, not as a like as individuals, but not as a dynamic. Like Moraine went off in Carrion and did her own shit without Land. I thought that was fine.
But that was
Um,
after all of their interactions, and there's still like emotionally manipulating each other by doing stuff behind each other's backs and shit.
Yeah. Okay, you're talking about two characters in book two who have zero prominence.
Zero
Like
what, sorry?
because I was talking to Tristram about how Moraine and Lan have very minor roles in book two.
They should have kept that the same way for the show.
They may or may not have. It depends on what kind of contract they had with
This is it that
those
this is
actors.
like I said, this aspect is my least favorite aspect of the entire season because this is something that I don't think I would even like even if I hadn't read the books. I would think like, why are they doing all this emotional shit? Does it have something to do with the way the magic works?
Um, yeah, I didn't care for it, but it didn't like ruin the season for me.
It ruined everything that happens with them, other than some parts of the very last episode of Evans, episode 7, in terms of the whole season for me.
Yeah, because I thought when Moraine met up with Rand, I thought that was completely fine. Um,
That was better,
yeah, that was fine, and that was like episode 4.
except for the stuff where Lanfear magic can't be killed, like Tristram was talking about.
Yeah, but that's just based off of differences in the book, not based off of like this is what I mean. Like as far as like differences in the book, I give a lot of leeway. I just care whether it makes sense in the show and whether it's entertaining. Like Lanfear not being killable, yeah, it's a difference, but it's not something that I is gonna make or break the show for me.
But they still could have made that different in a way that's closer to the books and
Well, this
still would
is
have been
the
and
this is
and
the
still would have
argument,
been
right?
they could have done it in a way that's closer to the books and would have still
So
been
here's
interesting. They could have had her die and then come back as like basically a different person because they come back in a different body, which is what happens in the books.
yeah, but you're gonna have to hire more actors and all that crap. It's kind of not feasible for this
But there are a ton of
adaptation.
actors or characters rather, that have super small roles in the books, or they'll have a small role here and then a small role there. Like there could be a character like Padan Fane, for example. They had him in very small parts throughout the season. I don't have that much of a problem with that.
Right, but we do know Pat and Fane isn't accompanying any characters in season one. Like Lanfear definitely accompanies Rand in the second book.
But in a way better way in the books.
Well, yeah, what I'm just trying to say is, um, I'm fine with them straying. It doesn't bother me that much that they strayed that much. Like I said, closer to the books, like okay, like any I don't base an adaptation about how close it is to the book. I base it off as is it entertaining and good? Like could I
Well,
show it to
for me,
somebody that has
like
zero?
if there are changes, I like those changes if they're improvements on the book, which they have done in some instances. Like episode 4 of season 1, for example, was very different
Mhm.
from the
It's an
extremely different from
improvement,
the books.
and then
But
they
it was
followed
but it
it
was
with
awesome. But like
making it
all
worse
of the
though.
changes that they did in season 2, I think were worse than the
Mhm.
books.
I don't think all the changes. Like I thought Avienda. To be honest, I thought Avienda's intro in season 2 was better than in the book.
I still like that more better in the books, but it was one of my favorite aspects of this season.
Um, I thought Elias's intro was okay. It wasn't worse or better for me. I thought it was fine. Um, as far as Turok goes, I thought he had a better introduction in the show than he did in the book. I thought Saras had a better introduction in the show than she had in the book.
I don't even remember
Um,
the Turok and Suroth's introduction in the books, actually, to be honest. So I don't know.
Well, Saroth wasn't introduced until the girls show up in Falma. In this, they did her introduction far earlier, where she basically subdues an entire town and kills Uno.
Okay.
Yeah, she is definitely way more brutal in the show than she is in the book. I thought that like episode 6 was excellent, which we'll talk about when we get to it. I think that's probably the strongest episode of the season so far.
I think I
Um,
like, if I remember correctly, I think I liked 5 more the most so far this season.
yeah, so 5 is what is 5? 5 is Lanfear resurrecting and um, the girls getting ending up in Falma. It's basically Perrin and Avienda's meeting, which is excellent. I do think that is a high point of the series. I was really happy seeing that.
Yeah,
Um,
actually, like I think I liked episode 5 the most for the reason that you're looking for in the show, just entertainment. I was the most entertained by that episode.
right. But yeah, I'm not like for me. I usually reserve judgment until at least the full season is over before judging whether this season is worse or better than the books. Um, or yeah, like right now, I usually reserve it. Like I think I'll have um, a much better assessment once we've watched the final episode of this season. Because I remember the first season, like everything was going well until the last episode.
Well, I'd say a lot of things were going well, but I did, like I
Yeah,
said, I did like season 1 more than season 2, so I thought that like a lot of things were going well. Yeah.
but then I think one of the biggest things, though, when you're making a TV show, is the last episode has to be pretty close to the best.
Yeah.
And I think most people would have given the last episode their least favorite of
Yeah, exactly.
of the
Yeah.
season.
Hmm.
So I think that was something that really hurt season 1 and why currently I'm still liking season 2 more than 1. I think it's how it
But
ended.
but they
How things
carried
end is
forward
very important.
but they carried forward the like some of the one of the worst aspects of episode 8, which was Moraine getting her powers removed for some reason,
Yes,
and they
they
carried that
carried
into
that forward.
season 2, and
They dragged it
it
out.
contributed majorly to the worst aspect of season 2, which was the whole dynamic between Lan and Moraine.
But at least we can be rest assured that that nonsense has been put to rest because we've
But they
seen it.
wasted the whole season on it.
Well, at least it's like that. The thing is, we don't know how much of Barney Harris is leaving fucked up the last episode. It's certainly possible that that could have messed up that plot, and they're trying to fix it in season 2.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that being at least one of the major reasons behind the what's going on with Min and Matt, which is another one of my least favorite aspects of the season.
So as far as like this season goes, my expectation or hope is that the ending for season 2 would be like the Great Reset. That means they were able to fix the issues that happened with the end of season 1 and the repercussions that that caused for season 2. And by the end of season 2, they'll have the opportunity to kind of start on a fresh slate now that they kind of veered the story back into something that's closer to the books. I'm expecting at least the ending to be pretty similar. Like I said, in the
I
next
don't think
time
it's gonna
on,
happen, man.
on the next time on, they showed like all the major elements that I was expecting to see in the end of book 2. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to end.
I don't know. I really hope that you're right, because I would like the show to be really good. But based on all 7 of the 8 episodes that I've watched so far, I kind of doubt that I'm gonna like episode 8, and I kind of doubt that I'm gonna continue watching the show in season 3. But if episode 8 is really good, then or at least like pretty good, then I will.
All right. Well, I know for sure I'm going to watch it regardless whether they slam the ending or miss it.
I bet both you
But
and Tristram will.
yeah, I think Tristram is not as positive as me, but he's definitely more positive on it than you are.
Yeah.
I know he nitpicks a lot of things, but he's able to. I think from what I think he believes that um, so far there's a lot of really good aspects of season 2 that he's enjoying. And some of those aspects, like the whole Landon Moraine, is like an insignificant piece of the plot, and that's why I think it's not doesn't
It's
bother
not
me.
insignificant, man. It's like their whole arc for the season. It's Land's whole arc at least, and it's half of
But what I
Moraine's
mean
arc.
by insignificant is that it doesn't really affect the plot overall because it's something that's added. It's not something that's
Oh, okay.
changed.
Well, that's why it's even more pointless.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like it could be
Okay.
ignored almost because it's an added element. It's not an essential element to the plot,
Right. Yeah.
which is why it doesn't bother me. Like if they took it and changed
That's
it
why it
and
does
something
bother
else,
me.
that is yeah, it doesn't bother me because it's not essential. Like yeah, it's kind of dumb and
But if it's not
meandering,
essential,
but
why add it and waste all this limited screen time you have?
I don't know. I don't know what kind of contracts they have with these actors. I can tell you, but probably because these two characters don't have much to do in this book. I just that's why it seems added and unnecessary. But since it's not essential to the plot, it doesn't bother me. If they messed up something that was like super essential to the plot, then I'd be pretty mad.
But they
But it
could have
seems like
spent all that time including better stuff, even if it's better stuff that's not in the books at all or that's different from the books. They could have spent more screen time on better stuff than all this boring emotional shit.
well, we'll see. Like I said, some people might like the stuff, some people may not. Who knows? Like I don't know. I didn't really care for it, but it didn't destroy the series for me. It's still watchable, and I think there's just still a lot. I think the good aspects of the series for me are outweighing the negative parts of it.
I have the opposite opinion. Although I should say too, I haven't clarified this whole time. I should say also, even though I'm definitely more negative than both of you guys, I I haven't watched many reviews of the shows, but I'm assuming that there are a whole bunch of people who saying it's like woke neo-Marxist propaganda shit or something, and I definitely don't think that's the case at all. So
Yeah, the only reviewers I've watched are Daniel Green and the Negroes, and Daniel Green thinks it's better than season 1.
oh,
And
I need to watch his
Negroes
reviews
really
to see what his logic is behind that.
well, he uses the same logic as that I do have employed, which is not thinking about how close it is to the book, but whether it's a well acted and entertaining show. Because I wanted to turn that switch off, and I think I have successfully because I've done it in the past with other shows. I know that's kind of what they do with
But
Legendary as well.
why did you not like the Shannara series then?
Because I didn't like the teen angst stuff.
But there's so much of that in this season. It happens with Lan and Moraine.
Well, they're not teens. They're like adults, man.
It's,
Like they're
it's,
literally teens in Shannara, and it's like a WB show. Like you have to remember that the WB produces a lot of teen angsty dramas, and that's how they treated Shannara Chronicles as a teen angsty drama.
but they're making Lan and Moraine that act like they're angsty teenagers.
Not really. Like,
Yeah.
um, oh, you mean Lan and Moraine? Oh, you mean them having communication problems?
Yeah.
Uh, I guess so, but Lan and Moraine aren't main characters to the plot. Like, it'd
But
be
they,
different
like
if.
you were saying though, they made them more that way in the show, and then they added all of this stuff for no reason because it's not
Well,
essential
you
to the
have you
plot.
seen
And they could
Shannara?
have used
Have you
this
seen
valuable
Shannara?
limited screen time to include even other better shit that's totally non-canon or different from the shows that's just better and more entertaining.
Um, not not everything's going to be a hit. There's obviously a miss when it comes to the Moraine and Land stuff. And
Yeah.
even shows that I like, there's stuff that I didn't really care for. Like
Yeah,
Game
I'm
of
not
Thrones,
saying
there's stuff
anything.
that
I'm
I
not
didn't
saying
care for.
anything has to be perfect. I'm just saying this is a particularly terrible aspect.
Yeah, I'm saying too that this doesn't, that particularly terrible aspect doesn't stop me from liking the stuff. It doesn't outweigh the stuff that I like,
It's
is
one.
what I'm trying
It's
to
not
say.
the. It's definitely not the only thing, but this, along with other aspects, are to me the bad aspects that outweigh the good aspects.
Right. And for you, some of your bad aspects aren't bad aspects to me.
Right.
So for you, I understand that the bad aspects that you find bad and are more so on your end. The bad aspects that we agree on, yeah, I do agree on the Land and Moraine stuff. Um, but I think that we'll have to see. It's still okay. The show's still okay for me, um, and I'm understanding that hey, there were some things in the first season that kind of messed up the flow of everything. I think this is their chance to kind of bring it back together in Falma, and we'll see how that happens. I don't mind being Min having a little bit of a dark side. I see that they're going to try to make her a redeemable character.
I don't. I
I
don't
like.
like the. I don't like everything that they're doing with her in this season. Pretty much.
Yeah, understandable. I think it's okay. It's fine with me. I think, and then Ashamael has a way bigger role than he has, and I think that's fine. I think his expanded role in season two is completely fine with me.
It's not completely fine with me. I think it's interesting, but again, like they're changing the dynamic, like the way the dark friends are supposed to be. That's not the way they're supposed to be, and that's not the way these other people are supposed to be. Like you can still have, I don't know, like dark friends working with the, quote unquote good guys in the way that happens in the books. You don't have to make like everyone a dark friend and everyone working with the dark friends and all that crap.
Well, it's like I kind of get it because a lot of the dark friends that we have in the book one and two are just one-time throwaway characters.
Hmm.
Um,
Like
and
that one in season one who who
the one in season one represented like four different dark friends, and that's what I mean by one-off throwaway characters. I
right.
think it's more compelling in a story if you have a character that sticks around for a while that is
Yeah, I
a
agree.
dark friend. Um,
Well, it
and I think
depends. I mean, it depends on the character and how they execute it to me. Yeah.
right. So I'm expecting Min to be redeemed in some way. If they don't redeem Min in some way, it's gonna be upsetting for me. And I think
I think to me, it'll be upsetting either way, even if they redeem her, because they made her have this dark turn altogether unnecessarily for no reason. But I definitely agree that it would be way worse if they just had her end up being like evil or some shit. That would be dumb.
Well, her only part of this dark turn is getting Matt to Falma, and she didn't actually do that. She helped him get out of the tower, not really because he got led out of the tower, but
Hmm.
her whole mission was to drive Matt to meet up with Rand, and we saw that she did not really fulfill that part of her bargain, so she
Hmm.
didn't actually do the dark friend thing that she was supposed to do.
Yeah, I'm not saying it seems like she is going to turn out evil. Um, but yeah, that would be very good if she at least is redeemed.
And I think that's fine, you know. She didn't actually do anything evil. The evil tried to tempt her, but she kept, steady with her inner morals, and I think that's fine.
Well,
Like,
mostly. I mean, she started doing evil shit, but then she regretted it and let Matt know what was going on.
well, she didn't actually do anything evil. Like, the evil thing would have been her to push her. Her job was to deliver Matt, and then in the end, she was like, "No, this is what's going to happen if you do that." And she went totally against what her dark mission was supposed to be.
But it at least seemed like she was going to go that way for a while.
Um, maybe like she was definitely conflicted, but she chose right in the end until any damage could have been attributed to her.
But they could have made the character so much
Well,
more
this is what I
similar to the
mean.
way
Like
that
this.
that she is in the books, and like just have it been more interesting in general.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Like, I think she is a more interesting character in this story than she was in the second books. As in the second books, her role wasn't that big. It was quite small, and we never
Yeah.
dove into her as a character at all. She was around, but it seemed like she was just like a tag along in the second book. And here she seems to have her own motive. Like, we don't even know what the hell her motive is outside of, oh, the only reason I'm doing all this shit is because I have a vision that told me I'm a Moses Rayner.
That's
I don't
stupid.
know.
And like Tristram was
That's
saying, she's trying to stop her visions, even though she shouldn't even like. She should know that she can't stop them, or can't stop the events depicted in her visions from happening. Rather,
well, right. But I'm trying to say is like her motivation for book two is a little shallow.
that's okay though. They have shallow stuff with other characters when it should be the opposite way.
Well, I'm just saying they made her motivations less shallow in the show.
But they didn't need to do that. It's okay to not do that, but they did it in a way that just totally screwed up the way the character is in the books. Like one of the reasons that I like a lot of the other
What? I
characters
don't know.
more
I
is
don't.
that they're more similar to the way they are in the books. And the one at least of the reasons, one of the major reasons at least that uh, my favorite character arc is what happens with Egwene in the show so far, is that it's closer to what happens with her in the books, but it's not the only reason, of course.
Well, it's because if one thing is it was well acted. If it was like crappily acted, it probably
Yeah,
wouldn't be
if I
that great
rated the
for
whole
the book.
show just on acting, I'd give it like, I don't know, an 8 out of 10, but it's the plot, and it's mostly the plot that I'm pissed off about.
Well, like, yeah, I know you're a lot of what you're pissed off about is like it's is about comparing it with the book and how it's different.
But I mean, not just that. It is a lot
A
of
lot
that,
of it
but
is,
also
though. A lot of
even
it
by
is,
your
though.
own according to your own standards. Like a lot of this stuff is just not entertaining to me.
Yeah, but we know how different our tastes are when it comes to entertainment.
Yeah, that's true.
I have a very high tolerance of stuff you find like lowbrow.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
So anything that's like I'm easily entertained. Like I'm not. That's why I'm not such a great critic of things. Because a lot of critics that I actually watch are super hard on everything.
Yeah,
Like
that does happen for sure. I'm the
I'm
like
not
I
like
did,
that.
and you know that and you know that I don't like I try to not that be that way in general. Like I was agreeing with you guys about season 1, for example, that the Wheel of Time show was better than a lot of people were saying it was, but then I liked it, but then I started liking it less, especially in episode 8. But I just like this season so much less than season 1.
Okay. I'm just concerned. We'll just see how it lands at the ending. I know the bad taste of the ending in 1. I think the ending of 1 definitely put a damper on that season.
Yeah,
There are a lot
definitely.
of good stuff inside the season. There was some bad stuff inside the season, but man, they ended it so poorly. Um, Hopefully, I think it would be considering that they're going to have all the characters converge in Falma. They have the perfect recipe to make that ending work, and I hope they do. Um, I
That
love
does,
the
yeah. I hope they
portrayal of the
do too,
Shan.
but the right recipe doesn't necessarily bake a good cake.
Yeah, and I like the reason, like I said, why I like this season so much is it's so villain heavy, and I love villains. And I thought like all the villains are pretty good and decent acted. I
Mm.
think um,
Ishamael in
I
particular.
just like the villains. I just like how they're portrayed, how mischievous they are, how devious they are. Um, like we even have some added villainy when Brother Patchy gets like his face impaled by a bugle horn.
True.
Like that is some evil. That's like the evilest thing I've seen.
Yeah, like you were
I
saying,
can't think of more evil
the way that
acts.
they're executing the Shan Chen is good in this series, like you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the Shan Chan, their scariness seems way more scary in the show than they were in the books to me.
Yeah. I don't mind. That's one change I don't mind actually.
Yeah, so I'm liking it because the bad guys seem on point for the most part. And I kind of side with, oh man, are the bad guys excellent? That's why, a lot of my favorite movies revolve around how good the bad guys are, or how good they're portrayed. Like for example, The Professional. My
Hmm.
favorite aspect of that movie is how badass the bad guy is in that
I love bad guys too.
movie.
Yeah.
So
Like the Dark Knight, for example, as is probably the case with a lot of other people. I think Heath Ledger's
yeah, a
portrayal
lot
of the
of people
Joker in
don't
the
like
Dark
that
Knight.
last movie.
Which one?
A lot of a lot of
Oh, The Dark
people
Knight
don't like.
Rises?
Yeah, a lot of people don't like that one.
I thought that one was still pretty good. I thought it was like, I don't know, roughly equivalent to The Dark Knight, but maybe not,
Yeah, I'm not saying
but
I
not
don't like
as
it,
good.
but people, of course, like the second in the trilogy the best.
Yeah, I
Um,
still do. But like majorly because of the villain Heath Ledger as the Joker. That's one of the main reasons also why I like the very first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire the most, because Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin is fucking awesome.
right, and Doctor Octopus isn't that great of a of a foe. in the
Yeah, not
next
as good,
movie.
not as great as Green Goblin.
And they completely fucked the Venom. Is just yeah, that is not Eddie Brock. That is not
Oh yeah,
like
definitely
Venom
Topher Grace as Venom in Spider-Man 3. Yeah, not good.
Yeah, so I thought the Venom movie, if you've ever seen that, was actually pretty good.
I have, yeah, I've seen both of them actually. I thought they were pretty good. Yeah.
I haven't seen two. I saw one and I thought one was pretty good.
Yeah. I like the second one too for the most part, but I thought it was a little weird that Woody Harrelson was playing Carnage, but Carnage was my favorite Spider-Man villain when I was a kid, so I thought it was cool that they included him in a movie.
Woody Harrelson? Isn't he kind of old to play Carnage?
Yeah. But they gave him fake hair again that they've been doing for like 20 years in some movies.
For 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that works. Yeah, I'll have to see that movie sometime. I think I'm more optimistic, of course. You know that we've been talking. I'm more optimistic about this show. I know you're showing a lot of pessimism about this show, and that's fine. Um, but yeah, I get your criticism. I get that. Hey, it can be disappointing if they're changing aspects from the books that I enjoyed. I'm giving them a little bit of leeway due to what they had to scramble to do because of COVID and one of the major actors leaving last season.
That's why
Um,
I can understand the changes with Matt a little bit more. But to me, they didn't have to include Min in all of that.
yeah, I think we'll see because Min's change was like, oh, she was a friend of the Supergirls. She went with them in the tunnels, and then she helped break Egwene out. Yeah, she has a different journey here, and it's because Matt needs some type of companion in this retelling because um, it just so sucks that he got separated because of the casting issue, and now that he's separated, they have to put him back in the story with some type of companion. So they paired him up with Min, and I think that's okay because I think that they have a similar personality type. Like even in the books,
Why
they kind
couldn't
of
they
have
have
the
just had
same.
him quickly reunite with the other characters that he's supposed to be with?
Quickly reunite.
Yeah.
Um, I guess how because by the end of the episode on 8, they all got separated.
Yeah, but I mean, he could have been finding them and found Rand more quickly and more deliberately, for example, and then not have this whole thing with Min having prophecy about Matt killing Rand.
Well, I guess they gotta kind of come to terms about why he chickened out. And there had to be some
Yeah.
type of consequence given to Matt for doing that. And I think they did, they gave him a consequence. And he got past that consequence. I think it's fine. I think it's as long as they recenter by the end of the season, I think they'll be okay. We just have to see how they recenter. I know season 3 is already in the makes. It's already in the works. So my only concern is what are they going to do for season 3? Because in book 3, Rand is like almost non-existent. So what are they going to do? You know. So
Yeah, there I seem to remember that there are maybe even several books in which Rand is not really in there that much.
well, I know for sure book 3, Rand is not in it. There's like maybe not even POV chapters because there's chapters that sometimes will have a POV from Rand at the end of the chapter. But yeah, his role in book 3 is pretty minuscule, and I don't
Hmm.
even know if they're gonna do the the Stone of Tyr, or are they going to go straight to the waste? I don't know.
I'm starting to
definitely
wonder
saw-
if there's some sort of misunderstanding of the prophecy where the Dragon Reborn is supposed to actually mean more than one person, and it also means Egwene and Nynaeve somehow.
I don't think they're going to do anything like that.
They might not.
I think it's firmly. I think they're kind of firmly establishing that Rand is the dragon at this point. I do not think they're going to go back on that. It just wouldn't make any sense at the moment.
But they've done plenty of other stuff that didn't make sense.
Well, that type of change that we're talking about here changes the entire series. Like, I know there was this thing in the beginning where they didn't know who the dragon was, and it could have been a woman or a man, but that only affected the viewers in which, oh, who's the dragon going to be? It didn't really change the rest of the series once Rand was outed as the dragon.
So far, yeah. But it seems like I don't know. I'm just speculating.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to change anything with that. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Like, I am still thinking they can do a decent job moving forward. I don't think season 2 is that bad to me. There are definitely a lots of things that they nailed this season for me.
Like what?
And I think the things that they did nail, just like the Sean Chan they nailed, the imprisonment they nailed, the Suldam and Damani relationship. I really liked Avienda's intro. I think they did a really good job with that. I like the accepted test. I thought was really great. Like everything that has to do with the Sean Chan, like the accepted test, the journey. Like Leandrin has been nailing it for me. I really like her character. Varian's been nailing it for me.
I think I like the acting of Leandrin, and like I said, I liked what was going on with her at first, but I don't like the fact that they're making her more morally gray and they're changing many aspects of the plot in terms of what happens with her. And
I don't. Yeah, I don't.
I'm saying that
mind the
even though I
complexity.
don't actually mind the fact that much that they're combining her with other Red Aja.
Yeah, I think because they have to work with a smaller number of characters, they have to make these characters a little bit more complex. Because there's so many freaking characters in the book.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I understand them combining characters, but that doesn't mean they have to like totally change what's happening with Lanfear and make her morally gray and all that kind of stuff.
Well, Lanfear.
No, not Lanfear,
actually-
not Lanfear, sorry. I mean Leandrin.
Oh, Leandrin?
Yeah.
I think we don't know Leandrin's motive at all in the books. Because they don't dive too deep in that character. I
Yeah,
think
but
it's
I mean,
fine that they're diving
well,
a
she's
little
supposed to
bit
be a
deeper
Red
into the
Aja
character.
too, and like she's having way more favorable dealings with men than she should. I think. I don't know.
The only favorable feeling I've seen that she's had with men is with her own son.
And with the Shamael.
A Shamael? Well, that's because there's some type of deal that she's made.
And who is it? Oh, a guy who is Maureen's niece, who she talks with, who is also a dark friend. Or not?
Well,
Yeah.
that makes sense because in the book,
But that
they
just did
they
that does a
combined
way
the
to
characters.
expand his character unnecessarily.
No,
man.
they didn't expand it. They combined his character with another character.
That I don't
You talking
like the
about
way they
Morane's
did. I don't
nephew?
like the way they did that because they're totally different characters.
Yeah, but he doesn't exist. So all they did was create a familial relationship between Moraine and that character.
And then they created all
Otherwise,
this unnecessarily family drama and betrayal.
um, I think it's fine. Like it's
I don't.
it just makes it gives more drama to the show. That's really all it's
They don't
doing.
need to add more drama though. There's plenty of drama that already exists in the books.
Well, drama between who?
Like in terms of the plot of season 2 and all the hunt for the horn and everything.
Well,
I
we're
mean
talking
book
about
2. I
character
mean book 2.
conflict.
I
Are we
mean
talking about
mostly
like
the
character conflict or?
I mean most of like the quest for the horn and stuff that happens. Is it book 2 where uh Rand, for example, gets attacked by like reflections of himself in
Oh, that's
that
book
room?
3.
Is that book 3? And then is
Yeah.
it book 2 or 3
No,
when
no, no. Wait. The reflections in the room. That's book 4.
is it? Okay. And when
Yeah,
is it?
that's book
Which book
4.
is it um when Matt gets attacked by Darkhounds or something and Moraine destroys them
That's
with
book 3.
balefire? That's book 3? Okay.
Yeah.
Is season 2 supposed to be just based on book 2 or book 2 and 3?
So far, it's all book 2. They haven't branched into book 3 at all on the show.
Okay.
Because
Does
book
Moraine
3,
which book does Moraine like quote unquote die in the books? Is it book
book
2 or
5,
3? It's book
book 5.
5? Why?
Yes.
Geez, that makes it even worse that they fucking like made her power quote unquote like taken away, but then it ends in season 1, but then it ends up in Falsely 2 that no, we can take this back.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, they're just trying to create drama for conflict and drama for her character. Um, and yeah, I'm like, it could have been better, but it doesn't ruin the experience for me. I know it does for you, but I'm just like, some of it's good, some of it's interesting world building. Like I like the Carrie Ann type of world building they're doing with the nobility. But other than that, like, yeah, they are spending a lot of time on Moraine going her own way. But
Mm-hmm.
Moraine is a lot more ruthless in the show than she is in the books. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't mind that. But
But yeah, I
I
can't
do.
wait to talk
But well,
about the next 3
to
episodes.
an
So
extent, I guess. Like her being ruthless with Rand makes sense, but she's way more ruthless with Lan than she needs to be.
right, because I know the way it happens in the books, it's more of a one-sided conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like she dictates everything, and we never get into Lan's head about how he feels. Well, I remember him objecting to it in the book once, but that's about it.
Okay.
And I remember him not being told about what her plan was. He never tells her what it is.
Right. Yeah.
She knows what she's going to do, but she doesn't tell Rand and she doesn't tell Lan.
Right.
And the only way they find out is a letter that she's written after she quote unquote died.
Right. Yeah.
So we'll see. I think they have time to make it a better show. I think they're trying to steer it back into the right direction. We'll see. Like I think they were correcting a lot of things in episode 7 that we'll discuss next time. That they made some corrections there that I was fine with.
That made some stuff in the whole season before that totally pointless.
Well, that happens in a lot of shows, you know.
Doesn't happen in the
They go through
books.
this. No, At least for her character, it's like almost non-existent in book 2. But yeah, I consider her plotline filler, and I'm very familiar with filler. Like
Filler isn't good.
Somebody who reads a lot of Japanese comic books and watches these shows that are adapted, I am totally familiar with filler.
I don't like filler.
It's kind of like a fact of life for me. I don't get pissed off about it, but
Well, I don't
usually
get
when
pissed off about filler necessarily, but
'cause
I don't
that's what
like.
her
I don't want to.
plotline
I don't
is,
want to
it's
watch
filler.
a show if there's a ton of filler. I don't mind a little bit.
Yeah, so fortunately, whenever I watch a Japanese adapted show, I already have the knowledge of which episodes are going to be filler, and I tend to skip those. But at least in the Japanese shows that contain filler episodes, you can skip whole episodes most of the time. And this, they're kind of incorporating the filler within the actual episodes of stuff that's not filler.
Yeah, it makes
There's
it
no way.
harder to skip.
Yeah, there's no way to avoid it. But hey, sometimes filler's good, sometimes it's not. It really just depends on how much care they're taking with that. And when it comes to adaptations, the absolute best adaptations ever made are anime adaptations, because those are the only adaptations that I know of that tend to be 100% one-to-one.
Okay, I don't need
Let alone,
adaptations to be 100% one-to-one, but just closer than this is.
well, I'm used to 100% one-to-one when it comes to like comic book adaptations from Japanese sources, because that's what they do. It's kind of what they're known for, which is why in a lot of forums when I see people's like, oh, they should do an animated adaptation, and the reason that they're saying that is because if they do an animated adaptation, they know that it's going to be one-to-one, and they can take as much time as they want, to adapt.
They can have 15 seasons.
Right. They don't have
15
to
seasons with 30 episodes per season.
Yeah, and they don't have to worry about actors getting older and all that other stuff that they got to worry about.
Right.
When it comes to anime and animation. So I can see the sentiment for that. And you know what? Hey, if they want to make an anime adaptation, I'd be 100% for it.
Me too. Me too.
Because they already have.
But I mean,
source material.
I'm fine with them doing it in this medium too. I just wish it were better.
I wish it were better. I understand the constraints as well. It's like 2 more episodes per season could do so much more for the plot and story. It just so happens, I don't know why they thought 8 episodes a season was workable.
I don't know either.
But unfortunately, they have that constraint. They have all the COVID and Marty Harris leaving shit that happened last season, and now they're trying to recover. So we'll have to see what happens in season 3. How are they going to be able to recover fully? How are they going to adapt that story? Because it's going to be a different story. I don't know how it's going to end. I don't know if they're going to skip book 3 altogether and go to book 4. I think that might be the case, to be honest.
Huh.
Is that on book 3, all they're doing in book 3 is chasing Rand to the Stone of Tear.
Man, book 3 is my favorite book in the whole series.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because book 4, the book after that's my favorite. That's when he goes into the waste.
Fires of Heaven?
No, the Dark Rising or the Shadow Rising.
Right. Fires of Heaven is 5?
5, that's when Moraine, meets her fate.
Right.
And the next one is one of my other favorites is
Lord of Chaos?
Lords of Chaos. Yeah.
That's one of my favorites too, yeah.
That's what the Demise has such a great ending. Demise Wells is such a beast of an ending.
Ashaman, attack.
Ashaman, kill.
Right, Ashaman, kill. I'm looking forward to
Uh,
seeing the Rand forming the Ashaman in the show. That would be cool.
yeah, so that will be season. I have no idea because I know they're going to have to start like really chopping the books up pretty soon.
Hmm.
So I expect season 3 to get chopped up quite a bit. Book 3, book 4 should be chopped up quite a bit because book 4 is super long. There's no way they're gonna be able to maintain that. It's just I don't know. I don't think they're gonna be able to do it justice with only 8 seasons and only 8 episodes per show. It's
I
just
don't think so either.
it's very optimistic, but it's not going to be so horrible that I'm not going to watch it to the end unless they really, really, really screw up things moving forward.
Right. Fair enough. All right.
All
Well,
right,
I
so
think I think I'm gonna get going. I'm gonna eat.
all right, so on the final verdict, what do you give these 3 episodes?
So three,
What is
four,
your
and
favorite of the 3 at least?
3, 4, and 5. 5 is definitely my favorite. That's still my favorite of the season so far. I guess I like that
Okay.
surprise twist with Lanfear too, even though I don't like the way they executed the early relationship with her and Rand. I still like some of
Mhm.
the stuff that's happening with her. So yeah, episode 5 was my favorite. I am having trouble distinguishing 3 and 4 in my head, but I do remember that 4, unlike season 1, in which 4 was my favorite episode of the season, 4 was probably my least favorite episode of this season so far. And I seem to
Okay.
remember thinking 3 was okay. So if
3
in
was
terms of,
the accepted test.
oh, okay, yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I'd say 3 in terms of 5-star rating. I'd give 3 a 3 out of 5. 4, no, wait, 3 a 4 out of 5, 4 a 3 out of 5, and 5 a, I don't know, 4 or 4.5 out of 5.
Okay. I think I have a similar rating. I think the accepted test made episode 3 enjoyable. I thought they did a pretty decent portrayal of that, which I'll give a 4 and a 4. Episode 4, I don't know, it was okay. It wasn't great. Um, Probably like I would give it a middling grade, like a 3. And then episode 5 was fantastic. I really enjoyed Avienda's introduction. I'm really liking her as a character. Um, I think they did a pretty decent choice casting. I didn't need to get an exact. I know what are people going to say? Oh, they're woke because they picked some light skinned black lady. I really don't think it matters that much. Um,
I mean, they've made other characters black too, and it's not like the thing go. We were talking about this in terms of season 1. The thing I appreciate about that is that no one ever even mentions their race. So
right, right.
like it doesn't even it doesn't matter if people are different races in this world, which is accurate in terms of the books.
Yeah, so I thought they did a pretty good job with Avienda. I actually like her intro better here. I know she stole Gaul's intro, and Gaul's a really cool character, but it appears that at least 2 important characters that are going to be um, Perrin at least have been introduced to because we did get to see Bane and Chia at least. So at least they're going to be there, which is fine. Um, but yeah, no Gaul, uh, which is okay, I guess. But Avienda, I think she kind of did a really good job being fused with Gaul in that situation. I really enjoyed that interaction. So yeah, I'll give that a 4 to 5 as well. So far I think they're doing okay. I think aside from the whole added drama between Moraine and Land, I think they're doing okay with the season. Um, so far, what's going to determine whether the season is better is how they stick the landing. I would have said season one was great, but they didn't stick the landing.
Not
So,
at all. No.
and that was like very important that it sticks the landing. We'll see if this sticks the landing. I have a feeling that the landing will be easier to stick because I'm just thinking about the end of book one, and it's such a weird and vague and hard to visualize end that it would have been difficult either way. But I think the ending of book two is very clear, and they need to actually kind of do what happens. Like there's a fight between two major bad characters. There's a big battle. There's a lot of the one power being thrown around. So we should be able to see that in the next episode. All right. Um, all right. So we can go ahead and wrap it up. You have your doubts about whether this is going to end strong. I do as well, but I'm going to say I'm a little bit more positive about it. We'll see what happens, and we'll talk about it. So the next time we talk about the show, we will be talking about the last three episodes. So we will talk about effectively the last third of the season, hopefully. And I think the last two episodes that we're not discussing today, I think they are much stronger than some of the ones before. Like I thought episode 6 was pretty strong. 7, they finally resolved that messiness with Land and Moraine, finally. But we'll see what happens in episode 8, and then we'll talk.
I liked
about
6
all
and 7 less than 5, and I think I like 7 even less than 6.
All right. Well, we'll talk about them once all three come out, and then well, at least the last episode comes out, and we'll reconvene. Likely either next Saturday or the next Thursday after that, whichever works better for each of us. But yeah, man, thank you for chatting. Do you got any plugs you want to throw out there?
Yep, everyone should check out my channel called Philosophy Bro, where I talk about philosophy books mostly, and Dusty and I do podcasts there sometimes, and sometimes also Tristram about fantasy books like Wheel of Time and many other ones as well. So yeah, everyone should check that out.
All right, all right. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching and listening. I will let you guys know when we're going to reconvene about talking about the next Wheel of Time stuff. I also got some books over there on my little book depository, and we're going to talk about in the future the fourth book of the Ranger's Apprentice series. So also be ready to hear that juicy one. That's like my favorite, one of my favorites of the series.
Cool.
And kind of want to see what you think about it, whether it's going to be your favorite or not. But we'll talk about it once you get through that book.
Yeah, I remember book 3 was my favorite so far in the series too.
Right, right. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for listening, and bye for now, and have a great day.
Adios till next time, everyone.